Do you have problems understanding Brazilians because you think they speak too fast?
Você já viu algum rico parar na cadeia? Pelo menos não aqui nesse país onde todo mundo não tem caráter!
In this video, I'm going to give you tips on how to improve your listening skills and a specific strategy that's going to help you maximize your learning when you're watching Brazilian films or videos. Hello and welcome to another video. If you don't know me, my name is Fernando and this channel is all about learning and having fun with Brazilian Portuguese. Now, I've heard this many times before, students saying, I can't understand Brazilians, they speak way too fast. I say something to them and when they reply, I can't understand a single word. Now, is that true? Do Brazilians really speak that fast?
I don't know!
Of course, some Brazilians do, but I think what happens most of the time is that students perceive Brazilians to speak fast even when they're not. And there are many reasons for that. Brazilians often join 2 or 3 words together. They might decide to drop a syllable from a word or a word from a sentence. They use a lot of slang, a lot of expressions, just to mention a few. And all these things that should really be a priority on courses are often left out. Here's an example. It's very common for courses to say that the equivalent in Portuguese of saying I'm well, thank you is eu estou bem, obrigado. Now, I've never seen a Brazilian speak like that, and I certainly don't. What I would say, and I think most Brazilians would say, is tô bem, obrigado. That might sound fast, but it's actually natural speed. So the problem here is that there's a huge gap between recorded materials made specifically for learners and the reality of everyday natural speech. Textbooks often show how one should speak the language, but not how the language is really spoken in real life, so that students end up with this sort of alternative Portuguese that it's unrecognizable in real life. And which also makes it more difficult to understand what Brazilians say. So if you find it difficult to understand Brazilians, it's probably because you've been listening to the wrong type of material, or that you haven't been practicing your listening skills at all. So how does one get better at listening? By listening to natural speech with authentic materials as much as you can. And what do I mean by authentic materials? It's any type of material that's produced by Brazilians to be consumed by other Brazilians. And when they were made, there were no thoughts given to the understanding of such materials by non-native speakers. In fact, consuming authentic materials is how I learned English in Brazil without any regular contact with English native speakers and without having visited any English-speaking countries. But I listened to a lot of English and American music, and I watched a lot of English and American films. I did attend English classes as well regularly, but what I think really made a difference to my English was the fact that I consumed a vast amount of authentic materials in English. I remember when I was about 7 or 8 years old, I was obsessed with the film Grease.
Tell me about it, Steph.
I saw it about 10-15 times, and I liked the songs so much that I got my parents to buy the LP, and I so desperately wanted to sing along to the songs, so I decided to write them down, but my English wasn't good enough. I couldn't distinguish the words. So what I did, I started writing them down phonetically. So this
Tell me more,
became this. Tell me more, tell me more. And the other thing I used to do was to buy a magazine called Letras Traduzidas, translated lyrics, which had translated lyrics in it, so that I could sing along to the current pop songs at the time. The other thing I used to do was to rent American films or English films on VHS, and because with those tapes there was no option to take the subtitles off, I used to tape the bottom of our TV so that I couldn't read the subtitles. I would force myself to try and understand what people were saying on screen. So my point is, try and consume authentic materials as much and as often as you can. The more exposure you can get to the real Brazilian Portuguese, the more familiar you will become and the easier it will be for you to understand Brazilians. Now, it's very important to know how to approach authentic materials. You have to be a bit strategic about it. You have to be in learning mode. Otherwise, you take the risk of getting too frustrated and give up after a few tries. Let's take a film, for example. There are many Brazilian films available on Netflix these days, and many students are watching Brazilian films to try and improve their listening skills. Now, I don't think that's actually good enough. I don't think it will help you that much to just sit back and enjoy the film. You have to be strategic about it. And this is my suggestion for a strategy in 4 stages that's really going to help you make the most of watching a Brazilian film. So the first thing you need to do is to prepare. And by that, I mean 3 things. The first thing is to make sure that the film has both English and Brazilian subtitles. The second thing to do is to read the synopsis, make sure that you might actually enjoy this film. Make sure that it's in the genre that you like. There's no point in watching a gritty social drama if your thing is romantic comedies. And the third thing you need to think about is the actual setting of the film, the context. The choice of film is going to have a big impact on the sort of language that you're going to be exposed to. Different vocabulary, slang, or the style of the language, and also the level of difficulty that you might have to deal with. So watching, for example, Elite Squad will be a very different language experience if you watch the way he looks.
E você, não se preocupa com isso?
Com o quê?
Ué, vai passar a vida inteira sem beijar ninguém lá.
Giovana.
Ai, é verdade, né?
So now let's move on to stage 2. Now it's the time to put the English subtitles on and just sit back and relax. Watch the film, enjoy the story. Don't try and watch the film without subtitles at this stage, because it's only going to make you frustrated and angry, and it's just going to make you want to give up. So at stage number 3, you're going to watch the film again, probably a few days after you've watched it with English subtitles. You're going to watch the film again, but this time with Portuguese subtitles. And this is when the real learning is going to start. And what you can do is to just listen to the dialogue and read the subtitles in Portuguese at the same time and try to match the words in your head. Try and connect them. So you're going to listen to the words and you're going to watch and you're going to see them. So you're going to recognize them. You're going to see how they're written. And that's really going to help you memorizing the words and also how to sort of internalize how they speak, how they pronounce those words. And the good thing about it at this stage is that you're not worried about the plot. You already know what's happening, so you're not going to be anxious about what's happening in the story. And the other thing is, don't be tempted to look up words in the dictionary at this point. Just try and connect the words that you hear with the words that you see on the screen. Stage number 4, you're going to go deep into that learning, and what you need to do is to select one scene. It can be a scene that you think it's funny or that you think it might have some interesting vocabulary in it. But what I would recommend is that you choose a scene that it's actually not too heavy in terms of dialogue and there's not a lot happening. It's not an action scene, for example. It's just a sort of like low-key dialogue. So after you've selected your scene, you're going to write down word by word using the pause button. And you're going to write down all the dialogue, and now you can look up words in the dictionary, you can analyze the order of the sentences, the grammar, everything you can. You're going to dissect that dialogue and you're going to watch it over and over again, and then you're going to try to imitate the actors, the way they speak, and most importantly as well the intonation, and look out for words when they speak that are actually cut short, and look out for all the joining words as well, because that's when you're going to be exposed to and you're going to start understanding the natural speech of Brazilians. And that's it. That's a strategy that I recommend when you watch Brazilian films. So just to recap, stage number 1, prepare. Stage number 2, enjoy. Number 3, connect. And number 4, study. Now, you can do this with series as well. You can do this with episodes of series. I know that there are about 3 series on Netflix at the moment from Brazil. There's 3%, Samantha, and The Mechanism. You can also do this with TED Talks. TED Talks are fantastic for that sort of exercise because they're short, and normally the speakers, although they speak naturally at a natural speed, they think a little bit more about what they're saying, so it might be easier to do that sort of strategy with TED Talks. On my YouTube channel, I've made a playlist with about 20 TED Talks in Brazil. So now you know a specific strategy that you can use to be in learning mode and to really improve your listening skills when you are watching a Brazilian film or video. If you'd like to know some other strategies that you can use to approach other types of authentic materials in Brazilian Portuguese, I've actually put together a PDF with lots and lots of tips, links, strategies that are really going to help you boosting your confidence when you are communicating in Brazilian Portuguese. I'll put this PDF that you can download for free below this video or around it or above it. It depends on which platform you're watching this video on, but I'll make sure that it's that you can find it easily. Also, let me know if you found these tips useful, or if you have any tips of your own that you'd like to share. I'd love to hear them. Muito obrigado. I hope you enjoyed this rather long video, and I'll see you next time. Ciao.